Has anyone ever wondered exactly why Harry Potter hunted for Horcruxes with just Ron and Hermione, never asking any of the older, more experienced Order members to join him? While I believe there is valid reason for him not asking, imagine if he did. If he asked, say, Remus Lupin for example to come along, would things have turned out differently? Well, I'm going to talk about those possible changes if Remus Lupin did indeed join Harry on the Horcrux hunt. I said at the beginning of this video that there is a valid reason as to why Harry never asked for help in hunting Horcruxes, and when I actually step back and look at the picture as a whole, it does appear to shed some light on the situation. It basically comes down to the risk involved. Hunting Horcruxes was extremely dangerous as Harry was being hunted himself by the Ministry. He'd already lost people he loved, and for starters he witnessed Cedric Diggory's death, the first real emotional blow for him. Seeing someone die who was too young, completely innocent, and sadly in the wrong place at the wrong time was extremely difficult to deal with at such a young age, even with his past experiences. He lost his godfather Sirius Black, the one man who could have been the father that he always wanted and needed, and when he actually did accompany Dumbledore in search of the locket, the experience weakened the headmaster to the point where he almost died in the cave and sadly was killed back in the astronomy tower. Although the killing was planned, Harry didn't know that, and he lived with the guilt of Dumbledore's death up until he discovered the truth eventually. The real reason Harry didn't ask for help was because he just couldn't handle any more people dying for him. It took a huge toll on him. Even 20 years on, he was still haunted by those who lost their lives in the Battle of Hogwarts. So if Remus did accompany Harry, Ron and Hermione on the Horcrux hunt, it would have most definitely been a case of Remus insisting on Harry telling him what was going on originally, that secrets were not a good idea within the circle, most likely using the example of the last secret that was kept from him, meaning the switch of the Secret Keeper, cost James and Lily their lives, which in turn would edge Harry to inform Remus about the Horcruxes and the planned hunt. He would insist on accompanying the trio, and if he had, he really would have proven very useful. Even with his insistence, Harry would remind Remus that it's not a good idea to be away from his wife and forthcoming child, to which Remus would cleverly but correctly reply that there's going to be no world left for his son to live in if Voldemort isn't stopped. That's just my opinion on what he would say anyway. For starters, Remus was an expert in defense against the dark arts. He had an extensive knowledge of spells, charms, and was greatly skilled with a wand. I believe it's a certainty that he would have provided them with additional protection and guidance. I don't believe his lycanthropy would have caused an issue as long as he had a good supply of Wolfsbane potion with him. This allowed him to keep his human mindset, therefore he wouldn't have to remove himself or lock his limbs in chains. I also personally believe that he'd have spotted that Bathilda Bagshot seemed off and was in fact a reanimation being controlled by Nagini, as I feel he would have agreed with the decision to travel to Godric's Hollow. He'd also have provided an adult's verdict on the argument between Harry and Ron, and would have definitely prevented him from leaving or virtually abandoning Harry and Hermione. Remus would have known that dark magic is consuming and would have definitely forbid any of the trio wearing the locket. He'd have most likely kept it in a cloth or small case away from contact with the body. In addition to this, he would have advised Harry that an object of great power was needed to destroy a Horcrux, while ensuring Harry was remaining calm and level-headed. Harry did have a tendency to act before thinking, not always, but in certain situations he didn't always make the smartest choices, and Hermione would have definitely asked Remus if he'd recognised the Deathly Hallows symbol on her copy of the Tales of Beedle and the Bard, to which Remus would have immediately identified and explained the function of each Hallow. However, Lupin sometimes had a dismissive nature, and he'd have quickly advised the trio to put something like the Deathly Hallows to the back of their minds, as he'd see no importance in looking into the matter any further. For all the positives, there's one big negative, and that was the trio's way of travelling around. Remus would have definitely been against the camping out and keeping guard pitching a tent plan that Harry had. He'd have had a more structured plan in place. He'd also want the trio to be as sharp as ever when it came to dueling. Although against his better beliefs, I'm certain that he'd have taught Harry, Ron and Hermione some dark attacking spells and counter movements, as fighting to kill became more and more in line with fighting to survive. Permanently dispatching an opponent was becoming safer than letting them live to hunt you once again. Even if Harry greatly disagreed with such a manner, Hermione too, I believe Ron, however, would be more open to it, as he had such a big family, and protecting them was his main priority, even if it meant killing for them. Therefore, when it came down to being discovered by the Snatchers, which I still believe would have happened, Remus would have easily dispatched Scabior and Greyback in duels, which along with Hermione and Harry's help, would have definitely prevented Harry being taken to Malfoy Manor in the first place. And don't forget, at this point Ron is still recovering from his splinching. So this means that Harry wouldn't become the master of the Elder Wand, meaning that he was now at a huge disadvantage, and the end result could have turned out completely differently. So everyone, with that being said, those are some of the changes I believe would have happened had Remus Lupin accompanied the trio on their Horcrux hunt. Do you think anything different would have happened, or have I left something out that you feel should have been included? Let me know in the comment section below. And that is all for today's video, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing to the channel if it is your first time watching. And if you're a fan of the channel and feel like you'd like to contribute, my restructured Patreon account is up and running, and in exchange for your contribution of a minimum of $1 a month, there are many rewards you can receive, like suggesting one of my upcoming videos, exclusive Patreon only videos for you to watch, and even one-to-one Skype calls where we can hang out and talk everything Harry Potter or anything in general. So please make sure to check out some of my other videos on the left hand side of the screen. My second channel, Game of Thrones Lore, is on the right hand side of the screen. And if you want to check out some merch, I've got a merch store on the bottom right, or you can click the link in the description below. Thanks again everyone, and I hope you all have a great day.